Within the Vampire Diaries universe, I think Klaus and Marcel is probably the most argued upon matchup in the entire verse. Like the only other matchup or versus battles that actually comes close in terms of arguments and discourse would probably be Barney and the Witch from the originals, which happens a lot. However, with that argument, there's at least a bit of an argument, as in there's at least reasoning for both sides winning. However, with this, logically speaking, it is very obvious who the winner is going to be, as in who is the stronger of the two. The reason why this is such a big argument is because the majority of the people that actually watch the Vampire Diaries, as in shows in the Vampire Diaries Universe, Vampire Diaries, the originals and legacies, the majority of them, their favorite character is Klaus. Which makes sense. Klaus is very easily the best character in the entire verse. That I won't argue. In fact, I'm one of those people that actually have Klaus as their favorite character in the entirety of the Vampire Diaries universe. And whenever I ask people that I do know, if you actually watch the Vampire Diaries or the originals or legacies, and I ask them who their favorite character is, it's almost always going to be Klaus. In fact, it's always going to be Klaus. Again, which makes sense. However, just because I like Klaus does not make me automatically biased to the point in which I am blind to very obvious and very blatant logical points that actually argues against Klaus being the better of somebody. Especially when it comes to fighting and strength. Whenever you argue with people on the internet about Klaus versus Marcel, and you actually tell them that Marcel wins because Marcel actually took the serum, and the serum is specifically made to be stronger than every single original. And the reason why was because Lucien was the one that created it. In fact, Lucien was the one that designed and orchestrated everything about the serum. Of course, with the help of their ancestors, sure, but Lucien was the one that designed it. Lucien's wants is what the ancestors actually did for him. And the thing that Lucien wanted was to be better than Klaus in every way possible. There is no way Lucien will create a serum that's even remotely close to the level of Klaus. Lucien wanted to be much stronger than Klaus, to the point in which Klaus would view him the same way he viewed Klaus back in the day. That's the whole point of Lucien's character. That's the whole point of Lucien's ambition. I initially assumed that Lucien is much stronger than Marcel, mainly because I assumed the serum acts more like an amplifier of Lucien's pre-existing vampirism abilities. But nowhere in the show was that ever stated, shown, or even implied. The reason why people actually assume this is because of the cabin fight between Klaus and Marcel. And a lot of people actually fail to remember that Klaus and Lucien's fight, Klaus was able to actually land hits on Lucien. As in, Klaus was able to get the upper hand against Lucien. Yes, of course, you can tell that Lucien was stronger than him, but for the most part, it wasn't completely one-sided like it was in their first fight. So it's very clear that Lucien and Marcel are somewhere around the same strength. Although I think that Lucien is probably stronger than Marcel or a better fighter than Marcel, which usually will make him perform better than Marcel would. And that's not the only misconception when it comes to Klaus versus Marcel. The second one, and the biggest one, and the reason why a lot of people actually have this as an argument, is this scene.
I know you're hurt. I loved Davina too. And it would break her heart to see you like this.
Don't mention her name. If it weren't for you, she'd still be alive.
But she's not. This is an insult to her memory.
Whenever you actually see this scene on YouTube or on TikTok and you go to the comment section, a lot of people actually assume that just because Klaus's eyes change color, that he would have actually won the fight, as in he would have beaten Marcel if Rebekah didn't actually step in. And they just ignore what happened just before that. If Marcel just beat both Klaus and Elijah at the exact same time in like 5 seconds flat, what would Klaus do on his own anyways? Even if it does actually get a power boost that is an insane power boost, there is no way that power boost is equivalent to an original. Because it wasn't just Klaus, the original hybrid, that actually fought Marcel. It was both Klaus and Elijah at the exact same time, and they lost in like 5 seconds. And speaking of Klaus's hybrid phase, let's go through that misconception. A lot of people for some reason actually assume that Klaus isn't actually taking the fight seriously unless he's showing his hybrid face. And if you don't see Klaus's eye color changing, then he isn't taking the fight seriously. The hybrid face or the hybrid eyes is literally just the hybrid version of the vampire face or the blacked out vampire eyes. It isn't a special indicator to show that Klaus is now angry or Klaus is now taking the fight seriously. Just like with vampires, whenever their fangs come out, their veins pop out and their eyes change color. Like it's a package deal. We've even seen Klaus actually showcase his eye color changing when he's happy and smiling. Just because he showed his hybrid face does not mean that he's now automatically stronger. It does not mean that he's automatically taking the fight seriously. This misconception stems from season 1 when Klaus took on Marcel's entire army and he was losing, and then his eye color changed, and then he was able to easily kill multiple other vampires. I think he killed like a few dozen of them based on the aftermath, as in the amount of bodies that we actually saw in the compound afterwards. The reason why Rebekah panicked was because Rebekah saw how he looked, not because she saw his eyes. Rebekah's never seen Klaus's hybrid eyes in a fight. Remember, Klaus's werewolf side has been bounded for 1,000 years. The only time Rebekah could have actually seen Klaus's hybrid eyes when he's in the middle of a fight would be in the Vampire Diaries in the modern day. Rebekah panicked because of the way he looked. The last time I actually saw Klaus look like that, he massacred the Brotherhood, and he ripped out the tongue of one of them and had it mounted on a wall. Oh, his hybrid eyes made him stronger, that's why he took out majority of the vampires. Elijah did the exact same thing, and unlike Klaus, Elijah wiped out the entirety of Marcel's vampires. No hybrid enhancements, nothing. He just beat them up like it was nothing. Like he didn't try at all, but he easily won. So the strength boost that Klaus would have needed in the fight against Marcel, that you guys will be saying that actually comes from the hybrid eyes or Klaus's hybrid face or from him getting angry, has never been shown before. So whenever you argue with someone about Klaus versus Marcel or Klaus versus Alaric or Klaus versus Lucian, and they say that Klaus wins if he goes hybrid mode, laugh, because there's no such thing as hybrid mode. It is not Naruto. Hybrid mode has never existed in the Vampire Diaries universe. It has never been stated to exist. It has never been implied to exist. So whenever they say that Klaus's eye color actually changes, that automatically means that he's in hybrid mode. Just mention that an enraged Klaus wiped out his hybrid pack without showing his eyes. An enraged Klaus fought Michael twice and didn't show his eyes. He fought Silas without changing his eye color. He clashed with Alaric without changing his eye color. Fought Lucian twice without changing his eye color. And in the cabin fight with Marcel, his eye color didn't change. But anyway, speaking of the cabin fight, which is other than the whole hybrid mode nonsense, is the reason why a lot of people actually assume that Marcel and Klaus is actually relative, or Klaus is even stronger than Marcel, when even in the cabin fight you could easily tell who is stronger. There's a weird notion that Klaus won this fight and Marcel didn't, which is weird because Marcel didn't lose. In fact, if you actually use this fight as an example or as a reasoning to actually say that Klaus is stronger than Marcel, it wouldn't make any sense, because in this fight it literally proves why Marcel is the physically stronger person. Like, people will be saying that Marcel is only slightly stronger than Klaus based on this fight, or Marcel is about the same strength as Klaus. I don't know exactly how people actually came to this conclusion. Marcel won every single power struggle they actually had. Klaus landed 3 significant strikes throughout the entire fight. The fight opened up with Marcel punching Klaus in the face, and I wouldn't count that because that was a sucker punch and it was more of a sneak attack. Can't count that as an estimate of strength. Then they had a hand-to-hand exchange and then Klaus pushed him through the wall. Then the Hollow, who is in Marcel's head, taking the form of Elijah, urged him to actually take the fight a lot more seriously and end it. And then Marcel rushed back in. Then they have their very first power struggle, with Marcel having Klaus on the wall, then Klaus turning him over, and then Marcel tossing him into the stairs. Then Marcel, whose main aim was to actually disarm Klaus, trying to stop Klaus from trying to kill him. Obviously, the most efficient way to stop Klaus from trying to kill him would be to outright kill Klaus, but he doesn't want to kill Klaus, so he assumed that disarming him would be the best bet. Hence why when he had Klaus on the stairs, he didn't charge at Klaus to bite him to end the fight. No, he went to grab the weapon instead. Whilst he was distracted grabbing the weapon, Klaus broke a section of the stairs and chucked it at Marcel. And as Marcel was removing the wooden stake from his chest, Klaus charged him with another stake. Then Marcel removed the stake, got back up, and then Marcel told him that he should have killed him when he had a chance. Klaus told him that was his mistake, and then charged him to try to kill Marcel. And then I'm just gonna let you watch exactly how the fight ended.
Fight, you coward, or today will be your daughter's last.
I won't let you hurt my child.
Do it now, or forever be a servant to the Mikaelsons.
I'm not this thing's puppet, and neither are you. We cannot give it what it wants.
Someone...
And yes, the fight ended the moment that Elijah stepped in because it no longer was a 1v1 as Elijah was also fighting Marcel. A lot of people tried to mention the fact that Klaus snapped Marcel's neck, but you can't really use that in the fight because that was no longer a 1v1 and Marcel was busy with Elijah and had his back turned. So the fight between Klaus and Marcel ended here. So how exactly did Marcel lose? How did Klaus win this fight? If you say that Marcel won the fight but it was a close fight, I will allow that. However, the reason why it was close isn't because of strength. It was because of fighting skill, the fact that Klaus is smarter than Marcel, and the fact that Marcel wasn't trying to kill Klaus. Klaus, however, was trying to kill Marcel. The reason why he couldn't was because Marcel was just much stronger than him. He tried to stab him here, Marcel threw him into the stairs. He tried to stab him here, Marcel pushed him towards the other wall. And then he tried to stab him here again, and Marcel put him on the floor. And in terms of the fighting skill aspects, that was only for the first instance, as their fighting skills is not that far off from each other. When they had the same hand-to-hand exchange again, Marcel won the second one. So yeah, Marcel is stronger than Klaus and it isn't close. It isn't as close as people actually make out to be. Marcel is much stronger than Klaus. Like for me, the difference between Marcel and Klaus would be like the same difference between Michael and Elijah. Like people would be saying that Klaus is stronger than Marcel but weaker than Lucien. Again, like I said earlier on, Klaus got in as much hits in against Lucien in the second fight as he did against Marcel. And Klaus didn't even have a weapon that could kill Lucien. If he did, then the fight would have gone the exact same way with Marcel. However, the slight difference would be that Lucien would be trying to kill Klaus a lot more than he already was. Meaning that unlike Marcel, Lucien would have killed Klaus. Because in the fight against Klaus, Marcel could have been there multiple times, but he didn't. Here's one example, here's the second example, here's the third example, here's a fourth example. All these times he didn't bite him because he didn't want him dead. So Marcel wouldn't be using his biggest weapon in the fight. And yes, the bite will kill Klaus even though he's a hybrid. Multiple people on the show have stated that. Freya has said it, Lucien has said it, Klaus has said it himself, Marcel has said it. So yeah, if you did believe that Klaus is stronger than Marcel, then kudos to you, but logically speaking, he really isn't.